I let their teen mow my lawn for cash. The next week, my credit card was maxed and my basement keys were gone. "He's just a kid," she said. "Maybe you should watch your stuff better." I found something in my tool bag that they never meant to leave behind. I moved to a quiet part of Columbus, Ohio after my divorce. I just wanted peace. I bought a small 3-bedroom ranch house with a yard I figured I could keep up with, but between my job and my knee giving me trouble, yard work turned into a chore I avoided. That's when Joel showed up. He was the teenage kid from across the street, 15, maybe 16. His mom, Rita, had come by with banana bread when I moved in. She was the chatty type, always smiling too wide, making conversation even when you just wanted to check your mail and go back inside. Her husband Dave was quiet. The kind of guy who stood with his arms crossed a lot and only nodded when he saw you. Joel seemed okay at first. He didn't talk much, but one day he saw me dragging a lawnmower out and asked if I needed help. Said he was saving for a gaming PC. Told me he'd been mowing lawns for a few folks nearby. I figured, why not? I handed him $30 and he did a solid job. Came back the next week and the week after that. He always asked to use the bathroom before leaving. One time I let him help carry a box down to the basement because my knee was acting up. I kept most of my tools down there. That day, he asked about my old stereo. Said it looked retro. I thought it was harmless. Just a curious kid. Then things got weird. About 3 weeks into this setup, I got an alert on my phone. My credit card was charged $439 at a Nike store. Then another for $812 on Amazon. Later that day, $290 at some place called Game Junkie. I called the card company right away. They froze the account and said the purchases looked suspicious. I checked my wallet. It had been in the garage that day. I always toss it on the bench when I'm working on stuff. That's when I noticed something else. My spare key ring was missing the basement key. I sat with that for a few minutes, thinking maybe I just misplaced it. Then I called Rita. I explained everything, the charges, the missing key. I told her I wasn't pointing fingers, but Joel had been in the garage, in the basement, and the timing lined up. She didn't get angry.
She didn't act shocked.
She just said, flat out, "He's just a kid. Maybe you should watch your stuff better." That threw me. I didn't yell. I didn't call the cops. But something changed in me after that call. I stopped trusting the people across the street. I changed the locks, moved my wallet into the house, and bought a camera for the garage, just in case. A week later, I was looking through my tool bag for a stud finder when I felt something in the bottom pocket.
It was a phone.
Not mine. An older Android. Beat up. It was off, probably dead for a while. The case was cracked. When I plugged it in, it buzzed once and lit up. The lock screen showed Joel and another teen, both wearing those oversized hoodies, flipping off the camera. I hesitated. Then I opened it. There was no passcode. That phone had photos, texts, and voice messages. But one folder stood out, a set of videos. And what I saw next changed how I saw everything. The videos weren't long. 30 seconds. A minute. Some were just blurry shots of people's porches or cars. I almost stopped watching. Then one clip hit different. It was my basement. The video showed Joel standing in front of my workbench. He held up something shiny, my backup credit card, smiled into the camera and said, "Old guy leaves everything out. Easy cash." The other voice. Someone off-screen, probably the same kid from the lock screen, laughed and said, "Grab that drill too. Sell it." I paused the video. My chest was tight. That drill had gone missing 2 weeks ago. I thought maybe I lent it out and forgot. Now I knew better. There were more videos. One from inside someone else's garage, not mine, with Joel and the same kid digging through drawers, pulling out a small safe. Another one from a shed where they tried prying open a toolbox. This wasn't just a one-time thing. These two had been doing this around the neighborhood. I went back to the texts. Scrolling through, I found one between Joel and the other kid. Joel, dude, he didn't even notice I got the card. LMAO, other kid. You still got the key? Joel, yeah, I left it at mom's, but he prob changed the locks. LOL, other kid. WTV, you got the stereo, right, Joel? Not gonna try again Saturday. That was tomorrow. They were planning to come back. I copied everything. Every video. Every screenshot. I backed it all up to a flash drive, then emailed it to myself. I knew what I had to do, but part of me didn't want to believe it. That night, I sat on my porch with the lights off, watching their house. Joel's bedroom light flickered now and then. Rita came outside around 10 p.m. to take out trash. She looked across the street, then went back inside without waving. The next morning, I called the police. The officer who showed up was a guy named Harlan. Mid-40s, calm voice, looked like he'd been doing this a while. I handed him the phone and the flash drive. Told him everything. He asked if I had security footage. I said not yet. I was installing cameras that weekend, ironically. He scrolled through the videos, shook his head a few times, then asked, "Do you know the other kid in these clips?" I didn't. That's when he said something I wasn't expecting. "We've had a couple break-ins in this neighborhood over the past 2 months. Small stuff mostly.
Tools. Bikes.
Electronics. Nobody's caught anything on camera yet, but one guy over on Meadow Creek mentioned seeing 2 teens leaving his garage. This might tie it all together." He said they'd need to file a warrant to go through the phone formally and probably question Joel and his parents. I nodded. I figured that'd be the end of it. Police handle it. Maybe Rita finally admits what her kid's been doing. But that afternoon, things took a turn. Around 4 p.m. Rita came storming up to my porch. No knock. No hello. She said, "You went through his stuff? You're just mad 'cause your life's sad and you're blaming my son.
He's a kid.
You think calling the cops makes you a man?" I stayed calm. I told her I had proof. That I gave it to the police. That I wasn't out to destroy anyone's life, but I wasn't letting it go, either. Then she said something that stuck with me. "You don't know what he's been through. You think this is about a drill or some card. You don't know the half of it." She turned and left. That night, Dave came by. He didn't look angry. He looked tired. He stood on my steps, hands in his pockets, and said, "I didn't know about any of it. But if there's more, I need to see it before the cops do." I told him no. I said the police had it now. That if he was serious about helping his kid, he'd talk to them, not me. He nodded once, then walked away. The next morning, the police were back. Not at my door, at theirs. And that's when things really exploded. I watched from my living room window as 2 patrol cars pulled up across the street. One officer knocked. Another stood at the end of the walkway. Joel opened the door. Rita appeared behind him. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw her shaking her head, her arms waving like always. After 10 minutes, the officers walked Joel out in cuffs.
Rita screamed.
Not crying, screaming. She kept shouting something I couldn't make out, pointing toward my house. One of the neighbors came out onto their porch, watching. Then another. By the time the squad car pulled away, half the street was outside. Later that afternoon, someone knocked at my door. It was Dave. "I don't blame you," he said, before I could even speak. I didn't know it was this bad." He handed me a folded piece of paper. It was an apology note, written in shaky handwriting, signed Joel. It looked rushed, like something a kid was told to do. I didn't say anything. I just nodded. But 2 days later, a detective called me with an update and a question. He said the phone I found, it had more on it than they thought. Photos of driver's licenses. Credit cards. Not just mine. At least 6 other people, maybe more. It looked like Joel and the other kid were taking pictures during their break-ins and trying to use the info online. But that wasn't the part that made my stomach turn. The detective asked, "Did you ever hire a plumber named Ricky Valdez?" I hadn't. But the name sounded familiar. He said there was a contact saved under that name, and the number matched Rita's. Turns out, Ricky Valdez was a fake profile they used on Facebook Marketplace. Selling stolen tools. My tools. My neighbor's tools.
Bikes. Speakers.
Even a laptop that went missing 2 blocks over. And the IP address linked back to the Wi-Fi at their house. The detective said, "We're looking at more than a kid with sticky fingers. Someone in that house was helping." And now it wasn't just Joel under investigation. I still mow the lawn myself now. It hurts my knee, but I do it anyway. The grass grows slow on that side, where Joel used to sit and drink his soda. Sometimes I look over at their house and wonder how long Rita knew, not just what he did, but what she helped him become. And maybe the worst part is, even after everything, part of me still hopes the kid was lying to her. Because if she really knew, and still looked me in the eye with a smile, that's a kind of neighbor I don't think I'll ever forget.